Professor Korn's tentacles twitched with anticipation as he entered the buzzing classroom at the Galactic Academy. Today's lesson was no ordinary one. He was about to introduce his students to one of the most bewildering species in the galaxy, humans. The room fell silent as Professor Korn's multiple eyes scanned his audience, each filled with curiosity and a hint of fear. Today, students, he began, his voice resonating through the chamber, we will explore the culture and capabilities of a species considered both primitive and perplexing, the humans. A collective murmur spread through the classroom. Humans were known for their unpredictability and penchant for conflict, but few had ever heard of the whole story. Professor Korn activated the holographic display and an image of Earth appeared, a blue and green orb that looked serene and inviting. Humans, he continued, are residents of this Deathworld. Their planet is filled with predators, natural disasters, and environments that would challenge the bravest among us. The students listened intently as the hologram zoomed in to show various scenes from Earth's diverse landscapes, dense jungles, towering mountains, and vast oceans. A young student named Zilna raised a tentacle. But Professor, if their world is so dangerous, how did they survive? Professor Korn smiled knowingly. Ah, Zilna, that's the mystery, isn't it? Humans not only survived, they thrived. They adapted to environments that would destroy most other species. With a flick of his wrist, the display changed to show humans in various settings, climbing icy peaks, navigating scorching deserts, building cities in the midst of natural chaos. They possess a unique quality, he said softly, an insatiable drive to overcome. The class watched in fascination as the hologram shifted again, this time showing a group of humans crafting tools, forging weapons, and building shelters from the barest materials. This, Professor Korn continued, is where it all began. Sticks and stones, you might say, but look closer. Each tool, each creation was born from necessity, driven by the sheer will to survive and conquer their environment. Another student, Vexer, spoke up. So they fight everything? Even their own world? Professor Korn chuckled. Not just their world, Vexer. Humans fight everything, including themselves. The students gasped, but don't mistake this for mere savagery. Their conflicts have led to remarkable innovation. They turned warfare into science, struggle into strategy. They found ways to survive not just the elements, but each other. As the class digested this, Professor Korn gestured to the display again, showing a human ship exploring the vast reaches of space. They are a paradox, you see, capable of both incredible violence and unmatched compassion. And that, students, is what makes them fascinating and dangerous. Professor Korn's tentacles twitched with anticipation as he entered the buzzing classroom at the Galactic Academy. Today's lesson was no ordinary one. He was about to introduce his students to one of the most bewildering species in the galaxy, humans. The room fell silent as Professor Korn's multiple eyes scanned his audience, each filled with curiosity and a hint of fear. Today, students, he began, his voice resonating through the chamber, we will explore the culture and capabilities of a species considered both primitive and perplexing, the humans. A collective murmur spread through the classroom. Humans were known for their unpredictability and penchant for conflict, but few had ever heard the whole story. Professor Korn activated the holographic display and an image of Earth appeared, a blue and green orb that looked serene and inviting. Humans, he continued, are residents of this Deathworld. Their planet is filled with predators, natural disasters, and environments that would challenge the bravest among us. The students listened intently as the hologram zoomed in to show various scenes from Earth's diverse landscapes, dense jungles, towering mountains, and vast oceans. A young student named Zilner raised a tentacle. But Professor, if their world is so dangerous, how did they survive? The atmosphere in the classroom grew tense as Professor Korn prepared to discuss the first contact between humans and the galactic community. It was a day like any other, he began, when a small human vessel drifted into our sector. The hologram shifted to a video recording of the first encounter. The human ship appeared small and fragile compared to the massive galactic warships. We assumed they were lost, Korn continued, but they were not. They were explorers, curious and undeterred by the dangers of the unknown. The students watched as the human ship attempted to communicate, sending signals that were a mix of languages and mathematical sequences. They sought peace, Professor Korn said, but our commanders saw a threat. A misunderstanding, if you will. Zilna whispered, what happened next? Professor Korn sighed. A standoff ensued. Our leaders demanded their surrender, but the humans refused. Instead, they began to negotiate, using humor, stories, and even poetry to communicate their intent. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen. The students were silent, captivated by the idea of humans using such unconventional methods in a tense situation. And that, Professor Korn said, is what makes them so intriguing. They do not see conflict as the only solution. They see it as an opportunity to understand, to connect, and to find common ground. The hologram faded, leaving the room in darkness. And that, my dear students, he concluded, is why we must never underestimate the power of a human. The room was filled with anticipation as Professor Korn resumed his story. In the days following that first encounter, an alliance was formed. The display showed humans and various alien species working together on projects ranging from building starships to exploring new worlds. The humans proved themselves to be invaluable allies, he continued. Their creativity, resilience, and adaptability were unlike anything we had ever seen. Professor Korn highlighted his scene of humans teaching other species their unique problem-solving techniques. They shared their knowledge freely, teaching us new ways to look at old problems. They taught us that even the simplest tool in the right hands could become a means to change the world. The students watched as humans and aliens worked side by side, achieving feats that neither could accomplish alone. The alliance grew stronger, Korn continued, not because of our similarities, but because of our differences. The humans showed us that diversity is not a weakness, but a strength. Zilna, now fully engrossed, asked, Professor, what did they gain from this alliance? Professor Korn smiled. They gained friends, knowledge, and new challenges to conquer. And perhaps most importantly, they gained a place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as partners. As the lesson drew to a close, Professor Korn looked at his students with pride. Today you have learned a great deal about humans, he said, but there is still so much more to understand. The display showed a group of human children playing with alien children, sharing laughter and games. They are unpredictable, yes, dangerous, undoubtedly, but they are also compassionate, creative, and curious. He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. And that, he continued, is what makes them truly extraordinary. They have taught us that there is no end to what we can achieve if we dare to imagine, to explore, and to dream. The students sat in silence, contemplating the lessons they had learned. Professor Korn smiled. Remember this, my students. In the vastness of the universe, there is always something more to discover. And sometimes the greatest discoveries come from the most unexpected places. The hologram flickered one last time, showing a human hand reaching out, as if inviting them to join in the adventure. Class dismissed, Professor Korn said, and may you all continue to explore with the curiosity and courage of a human. Professor Korn's words hung in the air, leaving the students in a thoughtful silence as they began to process the lesson's insights. The class was still abuzz with the energy of discovery, but Korn sensed there was more to share. More the students needed to understand about humans and their unexpected influence on the galaxy. Just as Korn prepared to dismiss the class, a faint sound emanated from the corner of the room. It was a soft beep, almost inaudible against the hum of the classroom's life support systems. The professor turned his attention to the source, a small device blinking red. Korn raised a tentacle, silencing the students' murmurs. Students, he began, his tone suddenly serious, it appears we have a message. Let us see what this is about. The professor touched the panel beside the blinking device, and a holographic projection appeared in the center of the room, displaying the emblem of the Galactic Council. Gasps filled the air. An unexpected communication from the council could only mean something significant had occurred. A calm, authoritative voice echoed through the chamber. Attention, members of the Galactic Academy. This is an urgent transmission from the Council of Interstellar Relations. As of this moment, all galactic sectors are to be on alert. A human delegation has successfully made contact with the Void Dwellers. The room went dead silent. Professor Korn's eyes widened. The Void Dwellers, he muttered almost to himself. He knew of them, of course, an enigmatic species that resided in the dark spaces between galaxies, believed to be ancient, advanced, and uninterested in the affairs of lesser beings. No one had ever managed to communicate with them, let alone form any kind of diplomatic relations. How had humans done this? The voice continued, the Council requests all educational institutions to provide immediate updates to their students on the potential impact of this development. The human delegation has invited all galactic species to join in a diplomatic event. Details will follow. The hologram faded, and the room was plunged back into its original dim light. The students began talking all at once, their voices a mix of confusion and excitement. Professor Korn raised a tentacle to restore order. This is unprecedented, he stammered, his usual composure momentarily shaken. Humans making contact with the Void Dwellers? I would never have thought it possible. Zilna, who had been listening intently, now spoke up with wide-eyed wonder. But Professor, what does this mean for us? For the entire galaxy? Korn took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities. It means, Zilna, that the galaxy is about to change in ways we cannot yet comprehend. The humans have done what was believed to be impossible, and that will have profound consequences. Meanwhile, aboard the human starship Endeavor Asterisk, Captain Elara Stone was briefing her crew. We've done it, she said, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and relief. We've opened a dialogue with the Void Dwellers, and now we have to show them, and everyone else, that we are a species worthy of their trust. Her crew, a mix of humans and aliens from the Galactic Alliance, nodded. They were nervous but excited, aware that they stood on the precipice of a momentous event. Elara continued, "Remember, our strength lies not just in our weapons or technology, but in our willingness to reach out, to understand, and to build bridges where none existed before. We are here to represent not just Earth, but the spirit of cooperation that has brought us to the stars." The ship's communications officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel, added, "Captain, the Galactic Council has accepted our invitation to the event. Representatives from over 50 species are on their way." Elara smiled. "Good. Let's show them what humans are capable of, not just in conflict, but in peace." Back in Professor Korn's classroom, the anticipation was electric. The students had barely settled after the first announcement when a new holographic message flickered into existence, this time displaying a map of a newly designated neutral space station positioned between the galaxies. The voice resumed, "All species are invited to attend this historic gathering hosted by the human delegation. It will be an opportunity for open dialogue, cultural exchange, and the pursuit of peace." Professor Korn turned to his students, his eyes gleaming with renewed excitement. "This," he declared, "is an opportunity we cannot miss. We will attend and we will learn firsthand what the humans have planned. Prepare yourselves for an adventure." The students erupted into a flurry of excitement, their initial apprehensions replaced by eagerness. For them, this was more than a lesson. It was a chance to witness history in the making. Xilna approached the professor, her tentacles trembling with curiosity. "Professor, do you think the humans know what they are doing?" Korn laughed, a warm and amused sound. "Ah, Xilna, that's the beauty of humanity. They often don't know where they are headed, but they find a way to turn uncertainty into opportunity. That is why we must be there, to see how they navigate this new, unpredictable path." The station was alive with the buzz of activity. Delegations from all corners of the galaxy had arrived, each bringing their own customs, cultures, and curiosities. It was a breathtaking sight, species that had once been rivals or even enemies now mingling under the watchful eyes of the human hosts. Elara Stone stood at the center of the grand hall, watching as the delegates filed in. She could sense their skepticism and curiosity. She stepped forward, raising her voice to address the assembled crowd. "Welcome, friends," she began, her tone warm and inviting. "We are honored to have you here. Today is not just a meeting, it is a new beginning. We come from different worlds with different histories and experiences, but today we stand together with a shared purpose, to learn, to grow, and to build a better future." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. Elara continued, "Humans have made mistakes, and we will continue to make them, but we have also learned to adapt, to change, and to find new ways forward. We invite you to do the same. Let us explore the unknown together, not as conquerors or competitors, but as allies." The room fell silent, then erupted into applause. The delegates, one by one, approached Elara, expressing their interest in working together and sharing knowledge and building new alliances. The Void Dwellers, who had been watching from a distance, finally stepped forward, their leader speaking in a soft, melodic voice. "We have watched from the shadows for too long. It is time to step into the light." Elara nodded. "Then let us do so, side by side." Back at the Galactic Academy, Professor Korn and his students watched the proceedings with bated breath, streaming live from the station. The professor could hardly believe what he was seeing. Humans, the supposed primitive species, were leading the galaxy toward a new era of understanding and cooperation. He turned to his class, his voice filled with emotion. "Remember this day, students. Remember what you have seen. Humanity, for all its flaws and contradictions, has shown us that we can aspire to something greater, that we are not bound by our past, but free to forge a new future." Xelna, with tears in her eyes, whispered, "They have inspired us, Professor. They've given us hope." Korn nodded, his heart's full. "Indeed they have, Xilna. And I, for one, am grateful to have been here to witness it." The lesson had taken a turn that none could have predicted, but perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. In a universe filled with endless possibilities, sometimes the most surprising discovery is not a new star or planet, but the potential within ourselves. As the feed from the station continued, the room filled with a sense of wonder and excitement, the students realizing that they were witnessing the dawn of a new era, one where humans, with all their complexities, had become the unexpected champions of peace and unity across the stars. Professor Korn looked out at his class, a proud smile crossing his face. "Class dismissed," he said softly, "but remember, this is only the beginning. The future is ours to shape." The students left the room, their minds alight with possibilities, eager to see what came next. And for the first time in a long while, Professor Korn felt truly optimistic about